In the name of Almighty God, the most compassionate and the most merciful, I welcome you all, my lovely brothers and sisters. By the way, today it is our 2.5 lecture on trigonometry, and in 2.4 we have proved all the trigonometric identities related with each other. I mean, we have related three basic identity, and then we proved, I think, 36 relations of the trigonometric ratios related with each other. By the way, today we will work on the examples related to the 2.4. I want to say that when I write the question, please pause the video, then solve it with your own self. If you couldn't, click on the play button and see what we have. By the way, I will start our lesson. I have secant A multiplied with 1 minus sine A multiplied with secant A plus tangent A. This one should be equal to 1. Am I right? I have to prove. One thing I have to say, if you have a mix of the trigonometric relations or ratios, then please, if you change all the relations, I mean the trigonometric ratios, to sine and cosine, that would be very easy. First of all, just look to the angle. The angles should be same. Second, then go to the trigonometric ratios and write all the trigonometric ratios related to the sine and cosine. What do I say? This is A, this angle is A, this angle is A, this angle is A. It means angles are correct. Then the ratios, we have secant, we have sine, we have tangent. So change all the trigonometric ratios to sine and cosine. It would be very simple. So this is 1 by cosine A, 1 minus sine A, and this one is 1 by cosine A and sine A divided by cosine A. Am I right or not? Yes. Now, in here we have a factor in denominators. I mean 1 divided by cosine A, 1 minus sine A. So we have what? We have factor in the denominator cosine A. It is 1 plus sine A. 1 plus sine A. Now, all of these brackets are in multiplication. So, nominators should be multiplied. 1 times this one, times this one. I mean 1 minus sine A, 1 plus sine A. And in here cosine A times 1 cosine A divided by multiplied by cosine A, it's cosine square A. 1 minus sine A, 1 plus sine A. What this one is? This is 1 minus sine square A. A minus B, A plus B. A square minus B square. A square, 1 square is 1, and minus sine square divided by cosine square. So what 1 minus sine square of A is? It is cosine square of A divided by cosine square of A. So we can cancel. The answer is 1, since we have proved. Question number 2. Sine x minus cosine x plus 1 divided by sine x plus cosine x minus 1. We have to prove that this one should be 1 divided by secant x minus tangent x. By the way, in LHS, left hand side, we have sine x minus cosine x plus 1 divided by sine x plus cosine x minus 1. Now, first you have to look to the angle. The angles are x, 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 x. Do not change the angles. Second, look to the trigonometric ratios. We have sine and cosine, sine and cosine. By the way, this one should change to secant and tangent. What should I do? If we have this numerator and denominator, I want to divide both numerator and denominator by cosine. Why? Because sine x minus cosine x plus 1 divided by cosine, and sine x plus cosine x minus 1 divided by cosine. This sine by cosine, we have tangent. Cosine with cosine is cancelled. 1 by cosine, it is secant. It means we will approach to the answer. Am I right? Our aim is that this one, this LHS, should be like RHS. For this result, LHS we have sine and cosine, and RHS we have secant and tangent. So LHS should be changed to secant and tangent. So sine by cosine, it is tangent, minus cosine divided by cosine, it is 1, plus 1 divided by cosine, this is secant x, divided by sine divided by cosine, we have tangent, plus cosine divided by cosine, it is 1. Am I right or not? Yes. And minus 1 divided by cosine, so we have secant x. Now we do not have any trigonometric ratios in numerator, so we have to cancel this one. It means we have to find a way that in which we should not have any tangent and secant. We have three fundamental identities. First, sine square plus cosine square is 1. 1 plus tangent square is secant square, and 1 plus cotangent square, it is cosec square of x. It means if we have secant square and I put tangent to the RHS, secant square minus tangent square, we can put instead of that one, what? 1. It means if we have a way in which we have the tangent and secant, the square of them, so I can put this number. Am I right or not? Look to the number second identity. We have secant square minus tangent square is 1. If I put this tangent square to the RHS, so but the square of secant and tangent is 1, not the first degree. So what should I do? First, let me rearrange this one. Tangent x, we have plus secant x minus 1 divided by tangent x minus secant x plus 1. Now I want to multiply numerator and denominator with the what? With the secant minus tangent, or tangent minus secant. Same. What do I want to say? Tangent x plus secant x minus 1. We have the second one is tangent x minus secant x plus 1. Let me multiply this one with another pen. Tangent x minus secant x. Here also tangent x minus secant x. Can I do this one? Yes. We can cancel this one, and our question is the same. Now, why do I multiply this one? Because if you multiply this numerator with this one, tangent with tangent, this one is tangent square of x, plus with this one, it's minus tangent x secant x, tangent x secant x. Am I right or not? Yes. Secant with this one, it is plus tangent x secant x. Now secant with secant, minus secant square of x, minus 1 with this one, minus tangent x, and minus with this minus, it is plus secant x divided by tangent square, tangent secant, secant with this one, secant tangent, yes, secant with this one, secant square, minus tangent x, minus plus 1 times secant, it is secant x. Now we have in denominator, do not multiply, tangent x minus secant x plus 1. Here we have tangent x minus secant x. Now I think this one is cancelled, and we have tangent square minus secant square. Tangent square of x minus secant square of x minus tangent x plus secant x divided by tangent x minus secant x plus 1 multiplied by tangent x minus secant x. Now what do you think? Tangent square minus secant square, this one, it is minus 1. Secant minus tangent, it is 1. And if we multiply both sides with negative, we will have tangent square minus secant square is minus 1. Am I right? Yes. So we have minus 1 minus tangent x plus secant x divided by tangent x minus secant x plus 1 multiplied by tangent x minus secant x. If we have a factor of negative in numerator, so what we will find? Minus 1 is our factor. So this minus tangent become tangent x. This plus secant will be negative secant x, and this minus 1 divided by minus 1, it is plus 1. Do we have this one? Yes. So in denominator we have tangent x minus secant x plus 1 and tangent x minus secant x. Now this one is cancelled. If I put this negative in denominator, in numerator we have 1 minus with this one, this is minus, and minus with this minus, it's plus secant x minus tangent x. I think it's proved. Right, please. Question number 3. 1 plus tangent plus secant multiplied by 1 plus cotangent minus cosecant. What the answer is? 1, 2, 0, minus 1. Please solve it by your own self. Please. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. What the answer is? 1, 2, 3. Which one? Number 1, 2, 3 or 4? I think this one. Now, how we can do? I have mentioned a very simple way. In all trigonometric relations, identities, whatever question you have, please first arrange the angles. The angles should be same. Second, go to the trigonometric ratios. The trigonometric ratios should change if you have a mix of all trigonometry. So change to sine and cosine. That would be the very simple way. What do I mean? I have 1 plus tangent x plus secant x multiplied 1 plus cotangent x minus cosecant x. Now in here we have 1, this tangent is sine x divided by cosine x plus this is cosine x. Am I right? 1 plus cosine x by sine x minus 1 divided by sine x. Now in here you have the factor in denominator cosine x. So we have cosine x plus sine x plus 1. Am I right? Yes. Now here you have once again sine x, so it would be sine x plus cosine x minus 1. Now you have a multiplication of denominator and denominator, so this numerator should be multiplied with this one. What do you have? This one is sine x cosine x sine x cosine x plus 1 multiplied by sine x plus cosine x minus 1. Here you have cosine with the sine. Sine x times or multiplied by cosine. Now you can multiply this one with all of these one, cosine with all of them, or 1 with all of them. Or you can do sine x plus cosine x. This one is a plus b, a minus b. You have a square minus b square. And a square is sine x plus cosine x whole square. So you have to find the sine x plus cosine x whole square. Expand that binomial expansion. By the way, I think simple is sine multiplied with all of them, cosine with all of them, and 1 with all of them. It will be easy. So we have sine with all of them. We have sine square of x plus sine with cosine, sine x times cosine x minus sine x. Am I right? So cosine with sine, it is sine x cosine x, and cosine, it will be cosine square of x and minus cosine x, and this plus 1, it would be sine x, 1 with cosine, it's plus cosine x, and minus 1 divided by sine x cosine x. One thing I have to say is that this sine square with cosine square, this one, it is 1, and this one with this one is cancelled. Am I right? Yes. So we have cosine with cosine is cancelled, and we have this sine with this sine is cancelled. How many sine cosine we have? Sine cosine, we have 2 sine x cosine x divided by sine x cosine x. So it is cancelled. We have 2. Write it. Question number 4. Secant plus tangent multiplied with 1 minus sine x. What the answer is? Secant x, sine x, cosecant x, cosine x. Please solve it by your own self. I will count. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. What the answer is? 1, 2, 3. I think number 4. Okay, how? Listen. Once again, I will write secant x plus tangent x, 1 minus sine x. Now, you have a mix of the what? A mix of the trigonometric ratios. So, change it to sine and cosine. This one is 1 divided by cosine x plus sine x divided by cosine x. 1 minus sine x. Now, we have a factor here, cosine x. So, it is 1 plus sine x multiplied 1 minus sine x. It's very simple. 1 plus sine times 1 minus sine. It is 1 minus sine square of x divided by cosine x. This one is 1 minus sine square. It is cosine square of x divided by cosine x. It is cancelled. So the answer is cosine. Write it, please. Question number 5. Cosecant x minus cotangent x whole square should be equal to 1 minus cosine x divided by 1 plus cosine x. What do you think? In LHS we have cosecant x minus cotangent x whole square. I have mentioned if you have a mix of trigonometric ratios, so change all of them to the what? To sine and cosine. Do not expand this one. First you have to change it. So how I can change? This one is 1 divided by sine x minus cosine x divided by sine x. Am I right or not? Yes. Whole square. Now we have a factor in denominator. So our factor is sine x. What our numerator would be, it is 1 minus cosine x whole square. Am I right or not? Yes. Now this square belongs to the numerator and denominator, so I can write 1 minus cosine x whole square divided by sine square of x. Am I right? Yes. Now it's simple. 1 minus cosine square whole square. Do not expand this one. Why? Because in expansion you will have a square minus 2ab. We will find 2, and in answer we don't have any 2 number. Then do not expand it. So this sine square is 1 minus cosine square of x. So we will have 1 minus cosine square whole square. This one we will have a factor of 1 minus cosine x times 1 plus cosine x. Am I right? Yes. So we will cancel one of them, and numerator you will have 1 minus cosine x, and in denominator you will have 1 plus cosine x. This is our answer. Question number 6. What do you think? In LHS we should have a factor of denominator 1 plus sine a cosine a. So the factor of both is cosine a multiplied with 1 plus sine a. Am I right or not? Yes. Now this divided by this one, I think cosine a times cosine a, it is cosine square of a, plus this is divided by this one, so cosine a is cancelled. 1 plus sine a, 1 plus sine a, it is 1 plus sine a whole square. Am I right? Now what do you think? We have to expand this one. There is no way. So we will have you will have here cosine square of a plus 1 square is 1 plus 2 sine a plus sine square of a divided by cosine a multiplied by 1 plus sine a. Now this one, this sine square with this cosine square, it is 1. 1 plus 1, it is 2, plus 2 sine a divided by cosine a multiplied by 1 plus sine a. Am I right? Yes. Now in here we have a factor, we have 2 as a factor. You will have 1 plus sine a divided by cosine a multiplied by 1 plus sine a. I think this is cancelled, so the remaining is 2. 1 by cosine, it is secant. Write it please. Question number 7. Once again you have a mix of the tangent cotangent, and the answer is secant with cosecant. So change all the trigonometric ratios to the sine and cosine. First look to the angle. The angles are same, x, 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 x. Now the ratios are not same, so instead of this tangent we can write sine x divided by cosine x. Yes. 1 minus, instead of this one, cosine x by sine x. Am I right? Yes. Plus instead of this one, cosine x divided by sine x, and 1 minus sine x divided by cosine x. Yes. So I will simplify sine x divided by cosine x. Here you will have sine x as a factor between denominators, so sine x minus cosine x, plus here we have cosine x divided by sine x. So once again cosine x is our denominator, cosine x minus sine x. Am I right? Yes. This sine with this side, it is sine square of x. This cosine multiplied with denominator, so you will have cosine x times sine x minus cosine x. Am I right? Yes. Now plus here you will have cosine square of x and sine x times cosine x minus sine x. Am I right? Yes, yes. Why not? Now, now, what should we do? If I have the factors between these two, what our factor is sine x, cosine x, and sine cosine. This is also sine cosine. Sine x times cosine x times sine x minus cosine x. Am I right or not? We will have a factor here of -1. Cosine, this is sine x minus cosine x. Now, this one divided by this one, cosine is cancelled, sine cosine is cancelled. You will have just sine with this sign, it is sine cube x. Plus with this minus, we have minus, and this one is divided by this one, sine is cancelled, sine x cosine x is cancelled, so you will have cosine with cosine, it is cosine cube x. Now a cube minus b cube, so you will have the expansion of this one is sine x minus cosine x. The next one is sine square of x plus sine x cosine x plus cosine square x divided by sine x times cosine x sine x minus cosine x. Am I right or not? Yes. Now it is cancelled. Sine square cosine square, it is 1 plus sine x cosine x divided by sine x times cosine x. You have a polynomial by mono, 1 divided by this one, 1 divided by sine x cosine x plus sine cosine divided by this one, sine x cosine x divided by y by sine x cosine x. So this is cancelled, it is 1 plus 1 divided by sine cosecant, 1 divided by cosine, it is secant, cosecant x times secant x. If you arrange this one, you can write 1 plus secant cosecant. This is our answer. If you have, in summary, I can say, if you have a mix of the trigonometric ratios, please change all of them to sine and cosine. That would be very simple. Write it, please. Question number 8. 1 plus secant a divided by secant a is equal to sine square of a divided by 1 minus cosine a. What should we do? What do you have in LHS? In LHS we have 1 plus secant a divided by secant a. So change this one to sine and cosine. You will have 1 plus, this one is 1 plus 1 divided by cosine a and 1 divided by cosine a. Am I right or not? Yes. Now you will have the factor in denominator cosine a, so it would be cosine a plus 1, and this one is 1 divided by cosine a. This cosine a with cosine a is cancelled. Am I right or not? Yes. Yes. So you will have 1 plus cosine a. Now our RHS is something else. You can simplify RHS separately with LHS. What do I mean? Sine square of a divided by 1 minus cosine a. If I simplify this one, and this one is 1 plus cosine a, so we can prove that both of them are same. Instead of sine square, can I write 1 minus cosine square of a? Yes, you can do. So 1 minus cosine a. Am I right? Yes. Now this is 1 minus cosine a. Another factor is 1 plus cosine a divided by 1 minus cosine a. It is cancelled, so our RHS is also 1 plus cosine a. Hence 1 plus cosine a in LHS, 1 plus cosine A we have found in RHS. We can say that this is proved that 1 plus secant A divided by secant A is sine square of A divided by 1 minus cosine A. Right? Question 9. 1 plus sine A divided by 1 minus sine A is equal to secant A plus tangent A. What should we do? First, in LHS we have root 2. In RHS we don't have. It means we have to find something that it should cancel this root. Am I right or not? So that one is the square of the numerator and denominator. What do I mean? I mean 1 plus sine A divided by 1 minus sine A. Can I multiply both with 1 plus sine A or 1 minus sine A? Yes, we can do. I mean, I will write here 1 minus sine A and here also 1 minus sine A. Am I right? Yes. Now 1 plus sine A, 1 minus sine A, it is what? It is 1 square minus sine square. Some students will think, can we multiply both of them with 1 plus sine A, 1 plus sine A? Yes. In here you will have the 1 minus sine A, 1 plus sine A, like 1 square minus sine square, and it would be easy. 1 minus sine square of A. So here we will have 1 plus sine A whole square. Now what do you think? 1 plus sine A whole square, put it as the same it is. So this one is cosine square of A. Now this is cancelled, this one is also cancelled. So you will have 1 plus sine A divided by cosine A. Now division of a polynomial by a monomial. 1 divided by cosine A, sine A divided by cosine A. 1 divided by cosine, it is secant A. Sine divided by cosine, it is tangent A. Write it please. Question number 10. Sine x minus 2 sine cube x divided by 2 cosine cube x minus cosine x is equal to tangent. What should we do? Once again I will write the question. Sine x minus 2 sine cube x divided by 2 cosine cube x minus cosine x. In numerator we have the factor sine x, so you will have 1 minus 2 sine square x divided by, in here you have the factor cosine x and 2 cosine square x minus 1. Now your angle is the same, but your trigonometric ratios are not same. Yes, it's right that you have to change this one to sine and cosine, but right now sine and cosine we have, but the answer is tangent. So what should we do? If you could not find your answer and you have changed that one to sine and cosine, please you have to change all the trigonometric ratios to one of them. It means to sine or maybe cosine. That is your last chance. What do I mean? In here, instead of sine square, can I write 1 minus cosine square? Yes. So this sine divided by cosine, it is tangent x. 1 is 1 minus 2, and instead of sine square you can write 1 minus cosine square x. Am I right? Yes. So do not change this denominator. Both of them should be same. 2 cosine square of x minus 1. So tangent x multiplied by 1 minus 2 with this one, it is minus 2, minus with this one, it's plus 2 cosine square x and 2 cosine square x minus 1. If you changed all the trigonometric ratios to sine and cosine, the last chance is change all of the trigonometric ratios to sine or cosine. This is our last chance. So what do you have? You have tangent x multiplied by, we have 2 cosine square of x, and minus 2 plus 1, it is minus 1, divided by 2 cosine square of x minus 1. I think it is cancelled, so our answer is tangent x. Question number 11. Sine a plus cosecant a whole square plus cosine a plus secant a whole square. It should be 7 plus tangent square of a plus cotangent square of a. It's simple. Now you have to expand this one. This one is sine square a plus 2 times sine a times cosecant a. Am I right or no? Plus cosecant square of a. Plus, and here we have the same, cosine square a plus 2 cosine a times secant a plus secant square of a. Am I right? Yes. Now this sine square with cosine square, this is 1, plus this sine a with cosecant a, it's cancelled. Why? Because it is 1 by sine, sine with sine, it's cancelled. We have 2 plus what do we have next? What do we have next? We have cosecant square plus, it's finished. This is cancelled. It is 1 by cosine, cosine with cosine is cancelled. We have 2 plus secant of secant square of a, and 1 plus 2, 3, 3 with 2, it is 5, plus, and instead of cosecant square, can we write 1 plus cotangent square? Yes, because our answer is in terms of tangent and cotangent. So 1 plus cotangent square of a plus, it's finished, and instead of secant square of a, can we write 1 plus tangent square of that angle? Yeah, 1 plus tangent square of a. 1, 1, 2, 2 plus 5, it is 7. We have tangent and cotangent. Tangent square of a plus cotangent square of a. Cosine a minus sine a plus 1 divided by cosine a plus sine a minus 1 is equal to cosecant a plus cotangent a. By the way, in LHS, what do we have? Cosine a minus sine a plus 1 divided by cosine a plus sine a minus 1. Let me divide both numerator and denominator by sine. Why? Because cosine a minus sine a plus 1 divided by sine, I will say the reason, and cosine a minus sine a plus sine a minus 1 divided by sine a. Now this cosine with sine, it is cotangent, which we have in our answer, cotangent of a, and minus sine with sine, it is cancelled, which is 1, and 1 plus sine, 1 divided by sine a is cosecant. Now in here, cosine by sine, this is cotangent of a, sine by sine, it is 1, and minus 1 divided by sine, which is cosecant. But in our answer, we don't have any denominator, just we have numerator. So we have to find a way which we can cancel something of the numerator with the denominator. What should I do? Let me rearrange this one. Cotangent of a plus cosecant of a minus 1. In here, cotangent of a minus cosecant of a plus 1. Now, one thing I have to say is, you have cotangent, cosecant, and instead of 1, can I write cosecant square minus cotangent square? Yes, in here, listen to me. If I put cotangent to the RHS, you will have cosecant square minus cotangent square equal to 1. So instead of 1, I will write cotangent a plus cosecant A minus, and instead of that one we will write cosecant square of A minus cotangent square of A. Can I do? Yes. Now in denominator we have cotangent A minus cosecant of A plus 1. Now this is we have a factor of A square minus B square, which is A minus B and A plus B. So you will have cotangent of A plus cosecant of A minus, this one is A minus B, A plus B, cosecant of A plus cotangent of A and cosecant of A minus cotangent of A. Am I right? Yes. Now in denominator you have cotangent A minus cosecant A plus 1. Now listen, this one is same with this one, so you will have your factor cotangent of A plus cosecant of A as a factor. Now the remaining is this one divided by this one, it is 1 minus this divided by this one, the second bracket, minus 1 is multiplied with the second bracket, so you will have minus cosecant A plus cotangent A divided by cotangent A minus cosecant A plus 1. Now listen, minus cosecant plus cotangent and plus 1 plus 1, this is same with this one, so we can cancel. Now our answer is cotangent A plus cosecant A. Write it please. By the way, my lovely brothers and sisters, it's all that we had in our 2.5 lecture. Please, one thing I have need, which is 100 important for me, that is your subscriptions of this channel. Please subscribe my channel and share our videos with all your friends. Allah Hafiz.